Ebony Reed, my friend, my colleague. I'm just thrilled to have you on Publisher Studio today. Your book, 15 Cent on the Dollar, just made bestsellers list at USA Today. That is outstanding.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you. I co-reported and co-wrote this book with journalist academic Louise Story, who is phenomenal. So I'm happy to talk about Louise too and our partnership, but I'm just really excited to be here.
Talk to me about this book and the kind of the genesis of it, why you even wanted to do it.
Sure. So the summer of 2020, Louise and I were colleagues at the Wall Street Journal. She had recruited me there to join her team. And, we were having conversations that first pandemic summer about, inequities, things we had seen in the workplace and communities throughout our lifetimes. We started reading books together. And we realized that there is not a book that had ever been created that was the full, complete history of the Black-white wealth gap in our country from all the way back several hundreds of years to present day with real contemporary people living today. 15 cents on the dollar is the Black-white wealth gap. So a typical Black family has 15 cents in wealth for every $1 in wealth a typical white family has in America. And that comes from Federal Reserve data. It's released every 3 years in a consumer finance survey report. It is true in the mean, which is the average, and also the median, which is the full distribution of the numbers. And I mention that because one of the most common questions I get from people is, well, is this gap only here because we have these billionaires in our country, many, who are white? And the answer to that is no, that this is something that even if you pull out all of the billionaires, you still see it in the distribution because the billionaires would pull up the average, which is the mean. But when you look at the full distribution, even if you kick, 20 people out, the disparity is still there. And so there are many factors that have contributed and still hold this Black-white wealth gap in place in our society. And our book really, gets into that.
Well, and the wealth gap that you're talking about, and you mentioned different contributing factors, right? And I wanted to ask, because most people might take it right on back to slavery, and they would just say, but talk to me about this. I'm sure it's more complex than that. And it moves through even current policy.
Yes, the gap does start there. As a group of people, we experienced discrimination, laws that, impacted the ability to own, homes and grow wealth. Redlining is also covered, in this book. We also covered the insurance industry. Everyone may not realize that when life insurance, became a thing, it was really to insure the lives of enslaved people for their owners, not for them as people. And then Black Americans would face, different challenges with even being able to get, life insurance. We go on and we cover the labor markets and we look at the fact that, Black Americans are 1.5 to 2 times as likely to face, unemployment. We have data from the Labor Department that looks at salaries across, all industries, and we see that Black Americans are consistently, paid in the lower, levels. We look at entrepreneurship and access to capital. We also cover, the impact on Black veterans not being able to use the GI Bill. Several families that we interviewed, talked with us about that and what it could have meant to their family, if they had been able to use the GI Bill. 3% is the estimate that is out there. That is the percentage of Black veterans who served in World War II that were actually able to use the GI Bill to buy homes. And we know that the GI Bill, which was set up to spur, to help veterans with home ownership and education, going to college, and also starting businesses, really helped set up the white middle class in our country. And, Black veterans did not have the same experience because while it was a federal program, it was administered at the local level. We also cover student loan, debt in this book through the lives of people. Black Americans are more likely to exit college with higher levels of student loan debt.
What's it done? I mean, you and Louise Story, very sophisticated business writers to begin with. You start this project. Have you actually just validated some things that you already kind of knew, or were you just surprised, stunned by anything? And as you were doing this, what was it do? How did it shape your relationship with her? She's a white woman, and you're an African American woman, right? How did it shape your dialogue, what you decided, how you decided to divide the labor, any of
Yeah.
that?
Initially, when we started, the mechanics of the book, it was, and I'm sure you recall this, Ron, working at newspapers, it was that old school way of like, okay, we both got our inserts. We were working on our inserts. And now, one of us, at the time it was Louise, would serve as our editor and rewrite through them and bring them together. And, that took a long time. And then we also noticed too that when I went to work full time during the day, there still were phone calls that had to be made to people. Many of those people worked, so they were available to talk at night or the weekends. I was free then. So then I shifted more into that reporting role in that second year of the project. And Louise slid over into more of the lead writer. And then we would, pass, Word docs around. So, the completion of this book really is from both of our minds. There isn't, one sentence or one word in this book that we both we both signed off on everything in this book, and we're both equally, invested.
It's a
So let me just
beautiful,
about
beautiful book.
thank you. So let me just say this about partnership. We think if more Americans worked in partnership with a person who's different from them, then it would deepen their empathy and understanding of people of different lived experiences. And it would have an impact on conversations in our country that range from student loans to affordable housing to access to capital to many things. And that's part of the reason that Louise and I view this as not only a book, but also a public impact project. So we have been traveling since February, holding community symposiums in communities across the country to talk about this 15 cents on the dollar statistic. Our number one goal is to make that a nationally recognized statistic so more people understand the wealth disparity that Black families face. And also, part of making it a public impact project is that Louise has donated and pledged to continue to donate all of her profits from this book. And I have donated a share of mine to nonprofits that focus on women empowerment, education, and journalism with a lens on Black Americans.
Talk to me. I mean, I'm first of all, I'm just very impressed on the deep dive that you and Louise did, and it's an important book. And you have done important work throughout your career, and you're a little younger than me, a lot younger than me. But we've come through the same, some of the same channels. Talk to me about why you wound up even inside of business journalism, and how it led this trajectory of your career and how it wound up with a Louise Story, and how it impacted your relationship. I'm interested in your personal journey a little bit too here.
Yeah. So, I would say I'm unique as a journalist in that I have not only worked in newsrooms and led coverage and led teams, but I have also, spent significant time on the business side where I have, sold advertising, sold products, run, audience efforts. And so, having that holistic, view and being able to see how things connect, I think really benefited me on this project. Louise also has an interdisciplinary, background as well, given that, she's led, product and strategy. She was the highest ranking female masthead editor at the Wall Street Journal at the time that she recruited me. But, a lot of times financial news is like reported in a vacuum. And what we've tried to do with this book is connect it to people's lives, connected to social issues to really show how, everything is is connected. And I feel like all of the different, jobs and roles that I have had, whether it be, strategy or Associated Press assistant bureau chief or, local metro editor, a deputy metro editor in Detroit. I just feel like all of those jobs, I was able to harness all of those skills in this book project.
Yeah, well, how has this changed? How has this changed the way you're going to go about your journalism, your career?
It's impossible to go through a project like this and not then began to think about personally, like, how I built wealth in my life and the choices I've made and what I might want to do, differently. And frankly, I think I'm still on a personal level, like absorbing all of that and thinking about all of that.
Well, I tell you, if when a young journalist comes to me and sort of says, how do I make it in this business? How do I succeed? I don't really think about me. I think about you. I mean,
Oh my
I
goodness.
absolutely have. I've been a fan of yours, and we hope to see you in Columbia, Missouri again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for this time.